First of all, you're halfway through the Carnivore Diet 10-day challenge. You have made it this far without cheating. You definitely deserve a reward. Remember that rewards make it easier for you to be in the habit of completing your goals. If you did cheat, it's okay. Start over. Next 5 days, you just need to go 5 days and you get a reward. Some reward ideas for you is buying or starting a workout class if that's something that you would find enjoyable. The community and social aspect, go ahead and sign up for a workout class now. Buying new clothes. If you are in the process of losing a bunch of weight, then choose to buy clothes that don't matter how much you weigh. Or you can even buy like a little goal outfit of something that almost fits, but is a goal outfit for you to fit into by the end of the month. Buying something for your hobby, like yarn if you're a knitter, or any other hobby you have, video games, that kind of thing. Or you can give yourself the gift of time and just this afternoon, don't do anything that you're supposed to be doing. After work, don't do anything that you're supposed to be doing, and just spend the evening for you. And you can binge watch TV shows on Netflix. You can engage in whatever your hobby is. You can go meet a friend and go out and just have black coffee or vodka soda or just a burger patty with cheese and bacon and nothing else. And you can go out and spend some time for you. That's another great reward. Now for the educational part. Today we are going to talk about oxalates, histamines, and fat malabsorption. Yay! Oxalates, you've probably heard, they're really something that's going on a lot in the carnivore community. A lot of people come to the carnivore diet because they have high oxalates, or they find that they're oxalate dumping, and it almost looks like a side effect of the carnivore diet. Oxalates are crystals. Leafy greens are really high in oxalates. So if you came from a vegetarian or an otherwise diet that was heavy in leafy greens, you might have oxalate issues. If you are prone to kidney stones, or you get dry or gritty eyes, or frequent urinary tract infections, or things that feel like urinary tract infections but aren't actually urinary tract infections, like there's no infection shown if they do culture your urine, then you might be oxalate dumping. If you are high in candida, which is yeast, like if you're prone to yeast infections, you get a lot of like patches of dry skin, dry heels, lots of weird skin rashes, and a lot of times that is a sign of a yeast overgrowth. Brain fog a lot of time is a sign of a yeast overgrowth. You might be high in oxalates, since yeast also produces oxalates. If you have seen like eczema flare or a UTI type symptom since you've started carnivore, and about right now is when you would know whether you're seeing that or not, that might be a sign that you're oxalate dumping. So oxalates are crystals, and this is like we've talked about all the toxins that are in plants. Oxalates, a lot of people have heard of gluten. Gluten is a toxin in plants that a lot of people react to. Oxalates are just like that. They're little crystals, and they're actually what kidney stones are mostly made of. And they can show up in just irritation. So they can irritate your gut, they can irritate your urinary tract, so it can feel like you have an UTI even if there's no bacteria present. It's because those little sharp crystals are coming out. People that have like eczema or have dry eyes, like a lot of sleep in your eye, you might find that that is an oxalate reaction. It's not always, but it is definitely possible. And so as our body, or as we're eating a lot of leafy greens, chocolate, are two of the big ones that have lots of oxalate. Almonds. And so this is where a lot of people that go on the keto diet, they increase their leafy greens, they increase their chocolate, because there's a lot of keto chocolate products out there. They increase their almonds in the form of almond flour or by snacking on them. Their oxalate consumption may be up. And so if you're coming from keto, you might have a bunch of oxalates in your body that your body has just been like dealing with, like setting aside to put away. And long term, that can result in kidney stones, which is why we definitely don't want our body to just be storing it. But as you've super reduced your oxalate consumption, if you're only eating meat and salt, or you're only eating like meat, dairy, and eggs and no seasoning, your oxalate consumption is way down right now. And so you might be doing something called oxalate dumping. And so if you're finding a flare in eczema, if you're finding, like I said, all of those symptoms that I just talked about, and it's too much for you, you may want to add in a little bit of chocolate, which sounds crazy, and slow that oxalate dumping, and then taper off slowly. So just by adding it in will trigger your body to not dump it all out right now. And so then you go down slowly. If you want more information on this, go to the Trying Low Oxalates Facebook group. It's a really intense Facebook group and they have a protocol, but they have a really good protocol that you can find out more about this. Most of you are not going to have this problem. I'm just kind of troubleshooting today in case you do. So don't be looking for a problem if there is none. If you feel good on carnivore, you're not having any excessive symptoms, but you'd like to know more of the mechanics of why this works. It is good for us, even if we're not oxalate dumping and we don't get negative symptoms, it's still good for us to not be consuming those oxalates. So that's oxalates. I don't have a huge protocol on being low oxalate, so I'm going to send you to that Facebook group because they're the best that I know of. And Sally Norton, I believe it is really top notch. You can look for her podcasts for learning about more about oxalates. If you believe you have candida, a lot of times candida, like yeast, like you're prone to yeast infections and you'd like to get that candida more under control. A lot of times candida is attracted to heavy metals. And so if we can get rid of the heavy metals, and I use TRS for this. Once I started TRS, I noticed that my candida symptoms, even on carnivore, were way less. And so I will link to a link down below for that. And that's just a spray that you take that binds to the heavy metals in your system, contains them, and then you can eliminate them. And when you eliminate them, you eliminate the candida that is protecting your body from the heavy metals. And when you eliminate the candida, you eliminate the oxalates that the candida makes. So it's all super complex, but really the overarching theme that I want to really pound into your head is that your body can heal itself. There's nothing wrong with your body. You are providing it a ton of nutrients right now, and there's just gonna be, for some people, some adjustment. Most people, you are gonna find you feel phenomenal on the carnivore diet. So the next step for troubleshooting why you might not be feeling awesome is SIBO and histamines. And so SIBO is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And that just means that you have up in your higher intestine, you have some bacteria that are maybe a little bit out of balance. And we talked about this on day 3 with how bacteria can cause you to have carb cravings. They can do all sorts of things. And one of the things that they can do is cause a histamine reaction. And so carnivore, if you're doing a lot of the bone broth or you're doing a lot of slow cooker, you may be also eating more histamine. And this is something that I found when I started doing the carnivore diet, and my first 3 weeks into it, I started getting a histamine response. And a histamine is something that, like, if you have seasonal allergies or pollen allergies or pet allergies, you take an antihistamine like Benadryl or Claritin or antihistamines to stop the itchy, watery eyes, stop the congestion, stop hives, like in severe cases. Those are all histamine responses. If you feel like you have histamine responses coming out of nowhere, then it is good to shorten the cooking time. So we all eat a little bit of histamine if we're eating cooked food. Unless we're eating like freshly killed raw meat, we are eating a little bit of histamine. And it's like a bucket. So your body can process like that much histamine. If your bucket is already full because you have a high histamine load, like SIBO that I was talking about earlier can make histamine. And so if you have bacteria in your gut making histamine, and then you're also slow cooking most of your foods right now, you might have filled your bucket so it's overflowing. And when it overflows, we have that histamine response, which is like runny nose, congestion, hives in some cases. Also GERD, like reflux. A lot of reflux medications have antihistamines in them. So if you feel like you have an upset stomach, it might actually be a histamine issue. So ways that we can lower histamine if you feel like this is your issue, and it's not going to be everyone's issue, so don't read into it if you don't have it, is again that TRS for getting the pathogens out of your system for SIBO, because pathogens can come from overgrowth or from overload of heavy metals can invite the pathogens. So that's an easy fix. It's just a spray. Shortening your cooking time, and this is what will do it for most people. If you have an Instant Pot, go ahead and use it. If you don't have an Instant Pot, just do stuff that you can cook quickly on the stove. And the shorter your cooking time, the lower your histamine is going to be in your food. And so we're not trying to get to zero histamine, we're just trying to get it to where our bucket isn't overflowing into the symptoms, because our body can process some, but it's just if we have too much, our body can't process it. So shortening cooking time is a good way to lower our histamine load. Using the Instant Pot is a great way to do that. And then kind of limiting your use of leftovers. So if you're used to cooking a bunch at once and then reheating all through the week, that can make your histamine load higher. So just cooking from frozen meat to cooked within an hour or so, instead of just having it hang out in the fridge, because as stuff hangs out, the histamine does get higher. So that's the solution to that. And last, we're going to talk about fat malabsorption. I do have a whole series on YouTube, which I'll link to down below, on poop issues. And I'm not going to go through that whole series because it's over 2 hours, I think, of videos. But if your stools are greasy, if you're pooping often, like on Carnivore, we should be pooping 3 to 5 to 8 times, or every 3 to 5 to 8 days, which is really, you might feel like that's weird, but go ahead and watch the poop videos and that will explain more. But if you're pooping often, then you probably have fat malabsorption. And I'm just going to link you to the video. You can take digestive enzymes. And this is something that your body will be able to absorb fat. Even if you've had your gallbladder out, you can still absorb fat. Your body just needs to like know what's coming at it. So right now we are going through so many adjustments that it doesn't know kind of what's here and what's there. So you might need to take some beta HCl or some ox bile to help your body digest those fats. So that way it can pull the nutrients out of them. And as it's able to pull the nutrients out of it, it has more nutrients to work with, and you'll find that you're absorbing fat better. And so you might just need supplements as a temporary crutch, but not something you need to do long term.